Hey, everybody. If you're hearing this, then you must be one of the most hardcore viewers the Skeptic Haven has. You're here right at the beginning, right at the start, dying to hear every second that we have. If you're seeing this, then you're seeing this. And this is me hosting for the very first time Skeptic Haven live tonight. And the question is Bigfoot an alien? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's start the show.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.
Oh, man. I'm a little off the center here, but I can fix that in a second. But in the meantime, how's everybody doing tonight out there? Tonight I got Sean, the Sandman. How are you tonight, Sean?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit like live and my camera is way off center. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
You can zoom me back in then. There we go. That works. Nope. We'll adjust as we go. But anyways, Sean, you're not like our usual guest. Normally we tackle a lot of theistic topics, occasionally the politics and things of that sort. But you're just way into conspiracy theories, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah. So my podcast is called ParaReality, and I talk about all kinds of, I call them alternative topics. So I'll talk about anything non-mainstream that's weird, UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, other cryptid stuff, unsolved mysteries, and conspiracy theories. The last couple of years, I've been moving more and more towards the conspiracy theory topic area. And every once in a while, I'll talk a little bit about religion, but only in an aspect of like connecting Christianity's roots in paganism, stuff like that, about how, things have kind of from Christianity kind of were uprooted from paganism or from other religions and brought in and stuff, but generally I try to stay away from politics and a lot of religious stuff on my show. But I love to, I'll talk about anything. I love a good debate.
Awesome. What kind of format do you normally tackle over there on your podcast? Like, do you normally do debates, have guests on, or you just make casts of feet?
Yeah. I'm actually getting ready this weekend to go to the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee. And that's a Bigfoot cast that it's not, I didn't do it. It's a copy, and I'm getting ready to pack that up. So I was like, I'm going to have that where I won't forget it. So I just put it right there behind me. My format is I have guests, and it's a half and half. I do about half the time I'll do just me behind the mic, and then the other half I'll have a guest or two on the podcast. So I try to keep it up. Experimenting with video. I'm a one-man show, so it's kind of hard for me to do video stuff.
Right.
So, if you guys got any volunteers that want to do video, send them my way. You know how much money you make at podcasting is zero. So
you need like an actual cameraman on site with you. Is that what you're asking for?
I don't know what I need.
Okay. Right.
I've experimented a little bit with video here and there, and it always comes out. It sucks. It's not anywhere as neatly produced as what you guys have going on here.
Oh, well, you're very, very kind. And it's all Wes. He has absolutely no one helping him ever. I'm just joking.
I believe that.
It's amazing that I haven't been just like deleted off of here right now from saying that. No, there's a great cast between Bree and Mikey as well. They all do great work over here. So just to be clear, you're against the myth of Bigfoot, or you're like, no, it's out there and I'm going to find it someday?
Well, I'm not looking for it. So I'm not going to be the one to find it unless it's totally by accident. But I think that there's something out there. There's too many people who've had an experience or a sighting of something. So, what it is, I don't know. But I like to keep, I describe myself as an open-minded skeptic. I'm not going to believe everything. I like to have a little bit of proof. And Bigfoot is something that there's some smoke. The old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, there's some smoke behind it. It's not a lot of smoke, in my opinion, but there's enough for me to say I think that there's something out there. But what it is, I don't know. And if somebody catches one or kills one, or we get definitive video proof of something, then great, I'm all for it. But we've been looking for it for a long time, still haven't found it. So good luck.
All right. Well, I mean, if anybody wants to interact with Sandman and the topic of Bigfoot or cryptozoology or even aliens, then call in.
Conspiracy theories, whatever.
Yeah. The details are in the below in the not in the comments section, but down below in the details there, and call in, let us know what you think. Maybe you got some opinion. Maybe you just want to learn about it, and that's fine. And I've got one question I just want to start with. Is Bigfoot Canadian or American?
That is such a good question. The answer is it depends.
Okay.
I think it depends on who you talk to. There's different versions of Bigfoot. If you look at the history of all the countries, they all have some sort of history of a wild man. Okay. Ours is Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And there's a version of him in Australia called the Yowie. There's versions of Bigfoot all over the place. So the North American version is Bigfoot. So I don't think that he's really, now I think about it, I don't think he's really Canadian or American. I think he's North American.
Okay.
I don't think he belongs to the United States or Canada. I think he's just the North American version of a wild man myth.
So if there is one, you're thinking there's only one?
Oh, no. There's got to be a breeding population for there to, be around as long as they have, unless they're some sort of, the one dude that's a mythical, immortal creature, which I really highly, like 99.999% doubt.
Yeah, of course. And then how far north do you go before Bigfoot is now just the abominable snowman?
Probably till you hit nothing but ice and snow, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so Toronto. Got it.
Yeah.
Everyone in Toronto. It's just a population of Bigfoots. We just never told anybody. Awesome.
They all look the same.
And you don't just dwell on the Bigfoot stuff. You're also like just cryptozoology in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not look, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I don't know that you actually can be. But it's always interested me. The weird and unusual stuff has always interested me since I was a kid. So like I said, I'm not I keep using my air quotes, but I'm not a Bigfoot guy. I've done maybe a handful of shows over the years on Bigfoot, but like I said, I talk about anything and everything weird. So
I love the idea of you having this non-video format podcast, and yet you can't help but air quote suddenly that you're on video.
I know. I do it when I'm behind the mic anyway. I'm talking to nobody out there when I'm recording my podcast. I'm going,
Right. All right. Well, on the topic of aliens, then, what is it that interests you about the alien conspiracy, or I guess?
Well, the universe is so big, and I just have a hard time believing that we are the only form of intelligent life that exists in this vast universe that we've got. Now, I don't know that there are aliens that are coming here and necessarily, kidnapping us and taking us up to their spaceship and experimenting on us and probing our anuses, and collecting sperm and eggs and stuff like that to repopulate their species or whatever. But I do think that there are definitely more than just us. There's more than just us as far as intelligent life goes, and I think we have been visited. It's just it's a big task to do, because I unless they are so far advanced that they figured out how to travel faster than light and not get smashed by it. It's a hard thing to do, but I think that they're there, and I think they have visited us.
Fascinating.
And
So
I don't think they're like lizard people controlling our governments or anything like that. No,
right.
I don't. Yeah.
So then this new planet, then we've got that KB or K2 18b, I think it's called, or whatever. Is that
something
is
like
that
that?
just
It's a
like
K something or other.
Yeah, is that like super exciting information to hear from you for you?
It is exciting information to hear from me, because there's that possibility that, hey, they're just like we are, and they're out there looking up and there's telescopes, and they're going, hey, look at that planet over there. Maybe we can. I think we're close to what everybody calls disclosure. All the UFO people call it disclosure, where the government is going to finally reveal that, oh, we have had contact with alien species, and maybe we do have some of their crashed saucers or ships or whatever. I think we're pretty close to that.
Fascinating. So then, if we were to bring in the whole, creationist part of it, then do you think, are you a subscriber to the whole panspermia idea?
I think there's a lot to that. Yeah, I do. I kind of, the more I have been doing research into I don't know how familiar you are with the ancient alien theory. I mean, I think everyone's seen or at least heard of, but the Ancient Alien show on the History Channel, the guy with the hair, Giorgio Tsoukalos and Eric von Daniken and William Henry and a few other people, Nick Pope. I've been into that theory since before that show even got thought of. I've been researching the ancient alien theory since 2000. And the more I have looked into it, the more I think that there is a distinct possibility that, it happened. I'm not gonna definitely say 100% for sure, but I'm not gonna rule it out. And to me, it makes more sense that something like that can happen than there is some mythical old man in the sky dressed in robes with a beard who grants wishes all the time.
Okay.
That to me makes.
You forgot he's white.
Yeah, he has to be a white guy. Yeah, he can't be any other color but that.
Yeah. I'm with you. I can't discount, just mathematically speaking, that there isn't another planet out there with life on it. I'm almost certain that there's life of some form, intelligent life. That part I can't be so sure of. I think if there is intelligent life, or if there ever was other intelligent life, the odds that we would encounter them, to me, is a little bit far-fetched. Like, yeah, I could buy that there was another planet in a far, far away galaxy that formed another civilization of people. And they may even have evolved and to the point of like having technology and some form of long wave communications and things of that sort. But I would find it easier to believe that they have long since gone extinct. And yeah, statistically, it'd be impossible. Not impossible, obviously. Like, I can't really actually say impossible, but the chances of encountering another civilization that is even close to our own technological level would be just astronomical.
Yeah, I don't completely disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think that you would be extremely ignorant to think that there's no other life out there in the universe. Now, what that life looks like, is it intelligent life? It could be, an amoeba, or it could be someone who's a little bit behind us, or a little bit further than us, or the same, as we are as far as our involvement. But I think you would be. I think anyone who thinks that there's absolutely no life out there except for what's on this planet I think that's an ignorant point of view.
It's a bad bet. I would say it's a bad bet for sure.
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So we haven't gotten any calls yet here. So if anybody's interested, again, you want to reach out and talk to us about the paranormal or aliens or Bigfoot, and tonight's the night, guys. So
it's your chance.
Pick up that phone and give us a ring ding. On that topic, somebody mentioned that there's a ghost stealing their KFC. You think that's possible? Can a ghost steal the KFC? And would a ghost want KFC? And what does heartburn look like in the afterlife?
I don't. If I was a ghost, I would totally want some delicious KFC, because that's some good stuff. But I don't think that a ghost is going to be able to eat your KFC. Now, everybody's heard of these hauntings where somebody puts their keys down on the dresser, and then they go 10 minutes later to pick them up and they're gone. They look all over, they can't find them. And the next day they magically appear back on the dresser, or they're somewhere, they appear in the kitchen 2 hours later or something like that. Can a ghost do stuff like that? I think so. Once again, there's been so many reports of stuff like that's happened that I don't think you can just blatantly ignore it or discount it. A lot of it is probably contributable to someone like me. I have the memory span of a goldfish is about 3 seconds, so I can take my pen here, I can lay it there and turn around and go do something and come back and never remember that I laid it there whatsoever. And it's like, how did that pen get there? I don't remember putting that pen there. So you can contribute some stuff to that, but I think there's some validity to ghosts being able to move objects. I think it would take a lot of energy, and where they're getting that energy, I don't know. But I'm eating the KFC, I don't know. Yes. I would want to, I'm sure, but I don't think I could do it.
So popular media wise, like movie speaking wise, the topic was broached briefly before we started the show, and I think it's an interesting avenue to explore, because then it will allow our audience to kind of get on the same page with you. Let's start on the topic of ghosts. What popular movie out there do you think comes closest to describing what it might be like life with active ghosts?
Life with active ghosts?
There's two in my mind that I think I would, if I had to believe in ghosts, it would be the most probable ones. But this is probably going way back there, but I would have to say the Patrick Swayze Demi Moore movie Ghost. I hate that you said way back there, because I was in the theater watching that movie, and it was one of the two I was thinking of.
Yeah, guilty. And I don't necessarily think that everything in it is plausible,
of course not.
But living with a ghost where there's stuff happening that you can't explain, definitely that. And as far as like, if you want to get a little bit more extreme and be like a poltergeist ghost, where there's a lot of stuff happening there, here and there and the other, I would probably have to go with the first Conjuring movie out of the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, those movies are getting major traction these days.
Yeah, or maybe even go way back to, I think it was, I'm going to say 86. I'm probably wrong, but the movie Poltergeist.
That's scary. I hope you're wrong.
That is a little to the extreme, but as far as like I said, things being manipulated, moving around, how scary stuff like that is, I would probably have to say those.
Yeah, I think
For me.
I think the Ghost movie comes really close to like exploring the possibilities of, if ghosts are real, this is probably
Mhm.
closer to what it's a little bit like. Not
Mhm.
sure that I'm necessarily on board with the whole, Whoopi Goldberg can hear ghosts talking, or,
Mm.
the whole light and the dark, side of that. But a ghost movie that comes to mind that I think is absolutely awesome is called The Others. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Uh,
The Others.
yeah, so
Nicole
it's Nicole
Kidman.
Kidman. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
where you're watching the whole movie with these two
Mhm.
kids and their mom, and you think they're haunted, to
Mhm.
just find out that no, in fact, they were the
They're the
ghosts
ghost. Yeah.
haunting the house the whole time. So if you
Yeah.
guys
Even
haven't
the
seen it, I just spoiled it for you, but too bad.
yeah, even
You had
the
30
M
years.
Night the M Night Shyamalan movie with Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
That's and I can't believe I can't remember the name of it, only because I'm trying so hard to.
it's The Sixth
Um,
Sense.
the Sixth Sense, yeah, yeah, that's pretty, I think, close to it too, because it's the same thing.
Really?
The kid's talking to a guy, and you think the whole time the guy's there, and the kid is the one that sees ghosts, and then in the end you realize that the guy's a ghost. And, you know, he didn't know he
I
was
mean,
dead.
it's a fantastic twist, but I don't know if the
Mhm.
paranormal world would exist that way, because it feels like it would just be all ghosts that had terrible things happen to them. Like, that would
Uh,
be such a terrible thing to witness. Um, but okay, yeah.
it does seem like all the ghosts in that movie did have something terrible happen to them. Now that I think about it, but
I mean, yeah, like, it almost feels like the only way you could be a ghost in that movie is if something bad happened to you. Like, you were
mm.
hung or shot or
You know,
something.
I can't believe that I've never really thought about that. I've only seen that movie a couple of times, um, but that point never hit home to me until you just brought it up right now. But yeah, every ghost in that movie had
Yeah,
some horrible tragedy.
Haley Joel Osment
Mm.
never ran into just an 85-year-old man who was just
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I just had a heart attack. I'm cool. Don't
yeah,
worry.
just died in
Just
my
going
sleep.
this way.
Yeah,
I won't bother
yeah.
you."
It's always somebody I need help. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I know I think just plays into the whole idea that ghosts exist because they've got the unfinished business. And what better way to set up a ghost or a character to have unfinished business than one who died
Mm.
unexpectedly? And usually, an unexpected death is a terrible death.
Mhm.
It's not usually something that, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it could definitely leave you with that
I
unfinished business.
I believe. Speaking of that, I believe that there are three categories. There are ghosts, number one, who basically those are um, they don't interact with you. You can't really interact with them. Those are the people who maybe they died tragically, or maybe something was going on in their life before they died, and it was such an intense thing that they just doomed to repeat it over and over again, like the Ghost of Gettysburg, where you see the people who are fighting the same battle over and over again, or the tales of the Civil War widow, or she whose husband left, and he said, "I will return, and uh, take this cross and wear it, and till I get back," or whatever. And every day she goes and she looks out the window waiting for her lover to return, and he never does because he got killed in battle. And you see, that ghost walks to the window every day in the house, but you can't interact with it. It doesn't interact with you. It's like a recording.
Right.
Um, so there's ghosts, and then there's spirits, which are the active souls of the dead, for lack of a better word, who can interact with us. Those are the ones that you see on the popular TV shows like Ghost Adventures, where they have the all the devices and they're talking to the ghost through all these electronic means and everything. And the ghosts are answering their questions. Those are spirits of people who either don't want to go to wherever it is they're supposed to go, or don't know that they're dead, but their spirits are there. They can interact, and it's an intelligent type haunting. So you have ghosts, you have spirits, and the last one, which we just got finished talking about, are poltergeists. And those are the ones that's flinging all kinds of stuff around. And depends on what you subscribe to, but a lot of people say poltergeist activities related to young girls who are going through puberty, who have a lot of angst and emotional instability. They're trying to come to their own. There's a lot of emotional stuff that's going around, and they manifest unknowingly. They manifest these things that are happening. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but there's some evidence for that.
All right, so same question, but aliens.
I knew you were going to ask me that. We were talking about this before we got on air, and there was a documentary that I saw, and I
want to look more at like popular
movies.
Yeah, but I want to look more like popular movies so that our audience can be like, okay, I see what you're saying because I've seen that movie, or I understand, or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Like, is Independence Day the alien situation you envision, or is it more like Paul?
No. That's it's probably more like Paul. Gosh. Okay. Hangar 18. You've never seen it?
No, I've never seen it. Never heard of it.
Oh, really? Okay, I got one on you there. It's also from the 80s, and it's basically about a government UFO cover-up. And these two, I believe it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I believe the two main characters are, I think they're in the military and they're trying to find out the truth or whatever. And anyway, the UFO is being kept in this hangar, and it's called Hangar 18.
Okay. I was thinking along the lines of like Flight of the Navigator. You familiar with that movie?
Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
An old Disney flick where this alien spaceship just collects aliens. And one of the reasons why I really like it is because if the space travel element of it is to be true, the boy he kidnaps and takes out into space and comes back, even though it was moments for him, it had been decades on Earth. So to me, that's really, really, like, really bang on, I would think.
Yeah. And of course, you got to throw in there Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I think that's a pretty good one.
That's probably, as far as the way people have their UFO experiences, I think that's probably the closest one.
If I had to describe the way I would hope the first introduction of intelligent life visiting our planet would go, I would hope it would be closer to Encounters of the Third Kind, more than, say, Mars Attacks. Like, I don't want Mars.
No. Although Mars Attacks would be kind of cool in a way, but
I mean, Tom Jones would still be the hero of that story, wouldn't he?
Exactly. God, that's a great movie.
It's really, really fun. Yeah, Michael J. Fox. I love him.
Jack Black was in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then, if we take that same question and we spit around over to Bigfoot, we really only get like one good Bigfoot movie, right? And it's a lot of fun, but
what movie are you thinking about?
Harry and the Hendersons.
Harry and I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, what other one is there?
If you haven't seen Sasquatch Sunset, you need to. I think you owe it to yourself to see that. That movie is. Is
it like a great B flick that's just like done on $15 in a credit card, catered by?
No, it's actually a big budget production. It has Jesse Eisenberg in it, and I forgot Elvis Presley's granddaughter. I forgot what her name is.
Priscilla? No. Granddaughter?
No.
I don't know the granddaughter name.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. She's kind of a up and coming actress. Anyway, they play the two leads. It's about a family of Sasquatch it's a year in the life of a family of Sasquatch trying to survive in the wilderness. And there's no dialogue, so at least none that we can understand. If you like movies that don't have really any dialogue, just a bunch of grunting and yelling and screaming, and you like full on nudity with an erection, and you like
Is this still a Bigfoot movie we're talking about?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you like to see people get
I need
high
a Pornhub account.
No, I was very shocked at some of the content that was in that movie, but it was a really good movie for something that had no dialogue. It was beautifully shot. It should win some sort of cinematography award, but I know it's not, ever going to, but it should. But yeah.
So someone in the comments, Andrew, someone who I'm very fond of, wants to know: is Sasquatch the plural or singular of Sasquatch?
It's one of those things where it's both. It's like deer is the plural and singular of a deer.
Okay.
Sasquatch is, I think, the plural and singular. I guess you could say Sasquatches or maybe Sasqueech. I don't know.
Sasquai.
Sasquai, yeah.
Have you come across any stories that, so like, as much as you love and seem like you hope to someday discover definitive evidence of these things, have you come across any stories that you were hopeful that this could be it, and then you came to the end and you went, this is not it, this is total garbage now?
Yeah, I have. Gosh, I don't know that I really want to go into it though. So let me just put it this way. I've interviewed somebody who is a firm Sasquatch believer, and has some really, really weird out there opinions on Sasquatch. And one of the when I talked to this person, when I interviewed him, it was going. I thought it was a great thing because this guy was telling about this experience that he had with Sasquatch, and then it took this weird turn into interdimensional beings and UFOs and being psychic and all that sorts of stuff. Just like you're going along straight and everything was great, and it just went off the deep end. Like really,
he found
really
the
quickly.
Intersection where all of these things meet.
Yeah, and so Sasquatch turned in, instead of like some unidentified earthly creature, it turned into some psychic interdimensional alien creature type thing.
Okay.
It's just
reminds me of an episode of Seinfeld when Kramer found himself at First Street and First Ave and thought he found the nexus of the universe. Didn't know which way to go.
Did not see that episode.
He calls Barry up on the phone like a panicked, lost child because he's at First Ave and First Street, so he doesn't know which way to go. It's like,
oh god,
because normally you can just navigate through the street numbers, right? Like if I'm on 20th Ave, if I go this way, it'll be 19th, or this way will be 21st.
This way will be 21st.
He's at 1 and 1. He has no idea where to go.
That sounds like
because you go one way, it could be 2, but the other way would also be 2. So it's like, oh, I don't know where to go. Anyways, awesome, cool. So, what have you been over? What your most recent podcast? What were you on about?
My most recent one was I interviewed a lady by the name of Debbie Doshinger, who is she is someone who's had like a spiritual type awakening because of extraterrestrial beings, and she was she's a podcast host. I think she's written a couple of books, and she goes on a lot of speaking tours. Been on a lot of podcasts, radio shows. I don't know if you're familiar with Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. It's a nationally syndicated AM talk radio show that's kind of does the same thing I do. He talks about anything weird, and it's been on for decades, and it's really popular amongst people who run in my circles. So we were talking about her spiritual awakening and how her communication was with these beings and what they are asking her to do, and how she's spreading their word.
Wow. And how often do you do a podcast?
I do bi-weekly, so every other week, the first and third Fridays of every month.
And it's exclusively on your website?
I'm just on all podcast outlets. So
and it's called
ParaReality. ParaReality. And it is available on my website, ParaReality.com. I've got an archive section where you can go and listen to a bunch of my episodes, not all of them, but you can listen to a vast majority of my catalog, and it's all for free.
Okay.
Yeah. My website has a news section on it where you can read about all kind of weird, strange news that's going on in the world. You can follow me on social medias. If you want to find me on X or Instagram or Blue Sky, my username is @ParaRealRadio. And you want to find me on Facebook, it's Sandman.ParaReality.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to check you out earlier, but I realized it was a podcast, and I was just like, oh, I'll save that for next time I'm out cruising.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Canadian. Are you shocked?
No.
No. Okay. Cool. So tomorrow is a very big day for me over here because we're having a big election.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just wanted to take a moment here, so I'm just gonna do a little housekeeping, and I've got a little personal housekeeping I want to do as well. So first of all, if you're out there, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, okay, guys? So if you're watching, I see you all in the chat over there. If you're not already subscribed, then get subscribed. And if you are subscribed, then hit that like button. All right. And if you are subscribed and you've hit that like button and you're also Canadian, then what I want you guys to do is go check out a website called smartvoting.ca. Okay. This is important because tomorrow in Canada is an election, right? Where we're going to be voting for our next leading party. Okay. And if you want to vote strategically in trying to limit an opposing party and their scary views, then smartvoting.ca can help you decide where your vote should go, strategically speaking, right? So if you just want to go out there, vote with your heart, and vote for your party you like, by all means. But if you want to put your vote to some good use, check out smartvoting.ca before you guys head out to the polls tomorrow. I've done it, so I know where I'm going to put my vote. And we've had like record turnout here, thanks to a certain president. Early voting over here was double that of in the past.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So
voting is important, people. So
yes,
listen to what he's saying.
Yeah. And it couldn't be even more important than it is.
Yeah.
right
Otherwise, you'll wind up with something like what we've got over here.
Right. And we definitely got a candidate on that line. But yeah, we don't want to get too far into it because that's not what we're here about. Unless one of the candidates is Bigfoot, we'll move on. But that's just my little call to action today for any of our Canadian viewers who have yet to go hit the polls. Check out smartvoting.ca for me, and think about where you're planning to put your support. Okay. But has Bigfoot ever ran a political party? No, I'm just joking.
He would get votes, I'm sure.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I mean, look, several years ago, freaking Kanye West ran as president. You know, he got some votes. So if Kanye West can get votes, surely Bigfoot can get votes.
Yeah. So Canadian Element also wants me to remind, I'll just do a little bit more housekeeping since we were on the topic of asking me if I have my Baja Con tickets yet. My tickets are coming from back channels. So I did not officially go over and buy my tickets or get my hotel room yet. But if anyone is interested in seeing faces like me or 604 Atheist or Forrest Valkai or Seth Andrews or Gutsy Gibbon, or the list is huge. We're all going to be there, and we're also going to be live streaming from there. I'll be hosting a live stream from Baja Con this year, and so tickets are on sale for that. If you guys want to come and check out the show live, otherwise, if you can't make it, hey, that's fine. We will be live streaming it right here on Skeptic Haven, so don't worry. Just make sure you're subscribed here and to any of the other channels as well. We're going to be attempting to do the largest multi live stream that we've ever done. So we're going to live stream to 8 simultaneous channels. It should be great. Are my tickets being delivered by aliens? No, they're not. Just because of doing things like promoting Baja Con, I'm getting a wee little discount. So my tickets are coming from another direction. That's all.
I see in the chat where Karen asked if I go on blondes and boobs. No, I do not. But if you want me on there, recommend me. Tell them to put me on there. Get them in touch with me, Karen.
Are they a big channel in the space?
It's a YouTube channel. Yeah. I've never checked them out. I've heard of them, but I've never checked them out.
I don't know if you get a voted sticker entered. To be completely honest, this is going to be the first year I've ever voted. It has never been. Yeah, it has never been in Canada. To be honest, it has never been the varying differences in views. Like I always say, in the States, you guys are actually arguing over whether or not insulin should be free or not, right?
Yeah,
in Canada, we're only arguing which insulin should be free. Should it be brand A or brand B? So it's never really been I don't want to say that it's just not been important or anything like that. I'm just saying it has never been as important or kind of, I don't want to be hyperbolic either, but it's kind of life and death here. It feels like, I'm kind of want to vote, not just to support the party I support the most and all that stuff, but just to make sure that I'm heard, even if it's just on a decimal point level.
Yeah, healthcare is always a big topic, especially here in the States. And one of the things that's wrong with our healthcare system is capitalism, and it's driving everything. Not just healthcare, but it drives everything. And there's so many people out there that says that we don't need socialized, or go my air quotes again, that we don't need socialized medicine. But you know what? We've already got it here in the United States, and people don't realize it. But it's called the Veterans Administration, the VA, and it is socialized medicine because the government pays for the health care for the veterans. And is it perfect? No, it's not, but it works. So that's my 2 cents on that. Sorry, you said insulin. Stepped up on my soapbox there for a second. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, to me, when you say Americans and their healthcare system, I'm not even sure you guys got a system, to be honest. It feels more just kind of just the idea for me. The most recent thing that I've learned, the idea that I can have an insurance provider that I'm spending $300 a month on, and I'm only accepted at a fraction of the hospitals available. If I get into major trouble, I need to make sure I'm taken to the right hospital, not just the closest one. Is just disturbing idea.
Emergencies are a little bit different, but you can't just go see any doctor or go to go to any hospital if you just, randomly want to go. Like if you have a cold and you're on vacation, you go to the ER, then if it's not in network, they're probably not going to pay, so, but if you are on vacation and you get in a fiery car crash and they have to airlift you to the closest trauma center, then you're probably going to be okay with that. But yeah, I can understand how it's hard to, if you're not in the system, it's hard to wrap your head around because it is a very convoluted system. And it is, healthcare is really not what we practice here in the United States. It is medical care. Right. We're reactionary.
Right.
We wait until you get sick. Then we say, here's a pill or here's some chemotherapy. Good luck. And we just don't
and
practice.
To hear some of the prices that you have to pay even for these drugs that you're now married to for the rest of your life are really shocking to me. Like even when Biden a few years ago was doing his, what was it, $30 a month for insulin or whatever, even that I was like, that's absurd. Why are you spending $30? It should just be free, frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember going to Las Vegas with my family. My mom had bought us like a 10-day trip in Vegas, and I'm there with my brother. And interestingly enough, she had bought this like medical insurance package for the trip, mainly because she was dating like a much older man, and she was just like not taking any chances in case something bad happens. Let's make sure we're covered. Ironically enough, the youngest member of our group, my brother, ended up sick with food poisoning, and we had to pay $1,500 in cash before they would look at him. So he was literally vomiting in their waiting room, and they're like, "Yeah, we need $1,500." Luckily, it was Vegas, so they just took the chips we had. We're just like, "Here's some chips." Like,
chips.
Well, no joke. Like, it was a medical facility in the casino. They were like, they had a waiting room, they had hospital beds, and like, we literally handed over like $1,500 in poker chips, and we're just like, "Here you go." And I mean, we got it all back because my mom had that insurance, but it was shocking to me that he would literally just be soiling up their waiting room, and they're like, no, he doesn't get past that door until we get a check for $1,500.
Until we get some, that's one of the things about here in the States is that if you go to the emergency room, they do have to see you. It doesn't matter what you go there for; they do have to see you. Now, whether or not they accept your insurance is here or there is iffy. But usually, if it's a true emergency, they will. I'm not going to say you're 100% covered, but usually you got something in your policy that will help you without a network stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It was different and shocking for me. That's all.
Yep. Yeah. I hate that you had to go through that. That is just that's amazing.
I'll be honest with you. Once my brother was taken care of and he got the IV that he needed and the rest that he needed, the 2 days he wasn't available to do any gambling were the only 2 days that I did well in the Texas Hold'em tournaments because my brother's a beast. Like when it comes to numbers and math, you just don't want to play with him. So those are the only 2 days I made money was while he was sick.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things I can appreciate that just having somebody in your government tomorrow just wake up and go, you know what? Forget it. We're just going to it's universal healthcare. Just everyone pay into a pot and we'll be good. I can see how just implementing that can be a little bit tricky because you're literally would have to uproot a system that is built a certain way. But what is taking so long for the federal government to legalize marijuana over there? What's the holdup? And would that not be an instant win? If Kamala Harris had come out and said day one legalize marijuana, would she have won?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with marijuana or anything. It's just she had 3 months to run a presidential campaign. That's not enough time.
Okay.
She
was screwed from the get-go is what you're saying.
I think she was screwed from the get-go.
She could have offered $1 million for every voter like Elon Musk and still would have lost.
Yeah, exactly. It would have helped her. Unfortunately for her, she was let's just call it what it is. She was a woman and she was black. And traditionally here in the United States, we don't go for that for our leadership. It would have been breaking down a huge barrier that I don't think that the old white man was ready for. I think it scared too many of the old white dudes, you know. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Conservative Party didn't have some of the election interference that they accused from the last election. If it didn't go on by them in this election, I wouldn't put that past them. But yeah, that whole thing, you talk about conspiracy theories. That whole conspiracy theory was it was so big, not just here in the States, but all over the world. But there's really nothing to it. There's never been one single drop of evidence that anyone has produced that has shown that election was interfered with. As a matter of fact, what they have shown is that it was probably one of the most secure elections that was on record to date. You know, people have literally lost their fortunes. The My Pillow guy spent over $3 million trying to prove
Mike
that.
Lindell.
Yeah, Mike Lindell tried to spend over $3 million trying to prove that the election was interfered with, and still couldn't do it. His stock tanked. He's getting sued by everybody. He was in court not too long ago and told the judge that he didn't even have $50,000 to his name, that he couldn't even afford to pay anything. You know, so whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I mean, you know, people have just gone bankrupt trying to prove stuff like that, and it's just you can't, because there is no, you know, it's a great conspiracy theory to talk about, but when you dig down deep into it, you find that there's nothing to it, so you need to let it go. And that's one of the things that I pride myself on, and what I think makes my show a little bit different than others like it is I don't come into any episode that I talk about. I do not come into it with the attitude that this is my belief. I am trying to sway you over to my side. You know, I've talked about many things over the years that I don't necessarily believe in, but it's an interesting topic, and so I talk about it. But what I like to do is come in and I say, here is what we're talking about tonight. I present the evidence for it, and then I let you, the listener, take that evidence, and then you make up your own mind. And I encourage you to do that and do your own research, you know, and look at everything. Don't just go to the YouTube channel that has the same opinion that you do. That's not research, you know. Do your own research. And
that's masturbation.
Yeah, exactly. You know, do your own research, do good research, you know, and if you disagree with me, that's great. Let me know why you disagree with me. Hell, that may get you on the podcast. You know, like I said, I love a good debate. So
yeah, I think the most interesting thing about the way the American election went for me was some polls that I saw, that like Pennsylvania, for example, and how it went red. And one of the reasons was the female vote didn't think America was, or that a woman was capable of running the country. Like, to hear that other women were like, I don't think this woman can run the country, was just shocking to me.
Yeah.
It just speaks to the misogyny. It goes beyond just, it's not just men that perpetrate it. But yeah, it was shocking. Anyways, everything over here right now is looking good. I'm not holding my breath just yet, but yeah, our election numbers are leaning towards being potentially one of the best, strongest governments we've had in a long time. So I guess we'll all find out tomorrow.
I guess you will.
Yeah, when the elections happen. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, so you're going to a Bigfoot convention here soon, or something you said?
Yeah, in Townsend, Tennessee, which is in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. There is a festival that happens the first weekend of every May. I think this is their 5th year. It's called the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. It's a big outdoor festival, and they have guests from all over come in and talk about cryptids, and you know, mainly Bigfoot, you know, but they come in and talk about cryptids and stuff. There's vendors from all over, and of course it's it's from the South. It's in the South, so we have to be different down here. So there's not only do we have people giving lectures and we have vendors, but there's also a wrestling tournament going on, and there's Bigfoot wood carving where people take the big logs and they take their chainsaws and carve a Bigfoot statue out of it during the day, and they have a Bigfoot calling contest, and it's just a bunch of fun
Bigfoot
for the
calling contest.
Yep, a Bigfoot calling contest. Whoever has the best Bigfoot call wins. So
Wow.
it's
how is that judged? By the number of Bigfoot that show up?
you
count Bigfoot heads?
You would think that would be. I mean, if you do it and just like one shows up, you should automatically be the winner. I don't know how they. There are judges for that. I don't know who, and I don't know what the criteria are. But yeah, they do that every year. It's just a fun family outdoor event. You can bring the kids. It's like $10 to get into it. You bring the kids. You can bring your dog or your cat or your pet Sasquatch or whatever, and just come and spend a few hours just looking at all the Bigfoot and cryptid and Sasquatch merch. And we have last year was this is my third year there. The first year I was just an attendee. I just found out about an accident, and it was a good weekend trip for me and the wife. So we went down there and checked it out and had a good time. Excuse me. And I somehow was talking to one of the people who put on the festival, and they found out I had a podcast. And the next year they invited me as a podcaster. There were like 3 of us. And this year is the first year where they've got like a real podcasters row. There's going to be, I don't know how many is going to be there, but there's going to be several podcasters there this year. I don't know who it's going to be, and I don't know what they're going to be doing, but my purpose down there is to collect stories. So if anybody's listening to this or watching this and you're going to be there in Townsend, Tennessee on May the 3rd, find my tent in the podcasters area, and you got a story, come on and tell me your story. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot. It can be, UFOs, aliens, anything, any weird story.
There's a friend of the community, Dave, who I was going to DM and tell him to get on over here because I'm sure he would love to talk with you, but I couldn't find him in my list to write out immediately, even though I know he's in there somewhere. But yeah. And Maya made a joke there that you said Bigfoot 3 times and Dave is supposed to magically appear. And then there's another friend.
Like a rule?
Yeah. And there's another friend of mine who does his own little take on Bigfoot, which is a Bigfoot Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Really, really funny. Because, for some of us, we put that kind of stuff in the same category. But why so interested in Bigfoot? Why not interested in like El Dorado or like this massive city of gold idea, for example, or like?
I'm interested in that too.
Okay.
I just this whole being at the Bigfoot Festival, like it just happened by chance. So I got there last year. Like they invited me last year to come and be part of the inaugural podcasters who were there, and invited me back this year. So I guess as long as they keep inviting me back, I'll keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So the podcast is gaining ground then a little bit. You got some good numbers.
It is. I got picked up by the Evergreen Podcast Network about a year and a half ago, and since then I've been had a little bit more exposure because this is a major podcast company. They have a lot of podcasts. I'm really one of the smaller ones because I'm not. What I talk about is not mainstream,
Okay.
So, but since I've been with them, I've gotten a lot of good traction. I've had a lot of people come and look to be a guest, just email me out of the blue and ask to be a guest instead of me having to look for guests. So that's always nice,
Is that like an indication of like now you're getting somewhere? People want to actively be on the podcast.
I hope so. I feel like it is. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to be, like Joe Rogan. I'm not going to be someone that gets offered all of a sudden, millions of dollars to do a podcast or whatever. I realize that, and I'm not really trying to make money off of it. Well, how much money you make. Don't make you spend money to do the
Skeptic
podcast.
Haven pays me $5,000 an episode.
That's great.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to get there, but it's probably not going to happen.
Canadian Tire money.
Canadian Tire, yeah.
Which only a Canadian will understand.
I would love to be able to make money, but really what my goal is to get in as many ears as what I possibly can. And, I'm getting some traction thanks to the Evergreen. And, you make you every connection that you make makes another connection somehow. And that's how we got hooked up, was through somebody we both know,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would say that, I've never met anybody who was like, whoa, I've got enough money. Don't give me any more. Like, I've yet to meet that person. I don't know that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? No, please, honestly, like that extra million, I don't need it. Like that guy doesn't exist. Having said that, though, when it comes to doing things like live streams such as this or the podcast that you do, when it's something that you enjoy doing, and as long as it doesn't become a chore, then it doesn't matter if you make any money or not. That becomes just like, oh, cool, I made enough this month to pay the StreamYard bill. That alone is usually pretty awesome. Sometimes you get that one generous viewer or listener who's just like, here's a $50 pass, and it's just like, oh man, I can stay afloat another month. Like, that's awesome. I personally just like participating, sharing my thoughts and ideas, meeting different people, and having conversations in front of an audience. I love the audience, the chat. I love all of that stuff. And if
meeting different people, and it's also, for me, is part of the creativity behind it. Being able to create something is what I like.
Yeah, like the group here at Skeptic Haven, the work they put into the channel to make sure they've got people on every week. I know what that's like over even on my own channel that I was playing with for the last little bit. Just booking a show every week is so much work. To find somebody to host the show and then find someone to be a guest on the show, come up with a topic that's interesting to try to like get some callers and get some enthusiasm out of the audience and things like that. It's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. And even myself,
that's why I don't do a weekly show.
Yeah.
Plus my wife would kill me. I did for about 2.5 years. I did a weekly show, and it was each episode was 2 hours, and I actually did one on Life 365, which is an internet radio, and then I had an actual terrestrial radio show. So I did each one every other Friday. So the first and third Fridays I do my show on the internet, and the second and fourth Fridays I would do the radio show, and that was a 2-hour show every Friday. And so when I wasn't working, or sometimes even when I was working, I'm doing stuff for the show, and then of course, Fridays come and you spend your nights doing the 2-hour long show. And I did a late night show, so it was midnight or after, and my wife and I never did anything together on Fridays. And then Saturdays I felt like shit because I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and she couldn't get any work out of me. And after about 2.5 years, she was like, you're done. You're done. And so I had to give one of them up, and there for a little while, I actually quit everything altogether for probably a little over a year. And I just missed it. And so, one day I went to my wife and I was like, please, wife, may I do my podcast again, please?
Yeah.
She was like, if you're good and you don't let it get out of control, I will allow it.
You really brought something to life for me just now, too. You just made me think about something, because I was trying to do the whole weekly thing, and I found it was exactly just like you said. It was not only taking up like personal time, but I found myself having to like work on it while I was at work. And it's like, that's wrong and stressful, right?
Yep.
Because it's just like, you know, this is wrong, but I have to do
exactly.
This. I have to get this.
I got a show Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know what? Yeah. Where's the rule that says you have to do a weekly show? I guess, if I were to put it back to just like every 2 weeks, it might be a little bit more manageable, or even once a month, and just do one great show once a month. Really, it could be all you need to grow an audience.
And that's exactly why I do just 2 shows a month, and for those months that have, that extra week in there, I take that week off too. That's my schedule, the first and third Fridays of every month. That's it. And it really, I think that allows me to not only do a little bit more research, but it allows me to give a better quality of content, number one, and it keeps me from getting to that burnout. And like you said, as long as it doesn't become a chore, and for those 2.5 years while I was doing a weekly show for 2 hours, it was starting to become a chore, and the chore started taking over the real life, and I was working on it when I should have been doing things around the house, like, cutting the yard, or hey, the roof's falling in, we need to fix that. I was like, I'll fix it later. I got this podcast I got to work on, I'm booking this guest, shut up, leave me alone. And my wife was very, very patient and very supportive up until she wasn't, and when she's the type of person, once she's had enough, she's done, that's enough. And she put her foot down, and she needed to. I'm not gonna deny that. But since I have come back and started doing things a little bit different, I haven't tried to be as big as what I was before. And every other week thing is working out great. And she's very supportive, and I couldn't do my podcast without her support. So I want to give props to Mrs. Sandman. So love you, dear. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I come from entertainment. I've been in entertainment my entire life. So for me, it really just became a thing where, like, at one point, I was missing the audience. I was missing, interacting with crowds of people. So I found my way back over to the internet, through channels, and just kind of like joined the community that I was watching every weekend on YouTube. And even all the shows that I would try to do, my significant other knows that I take entertainment and the show is very seriously, right? Like, it isn't just a hobby for me. I've always taken, like, starting a show on time is important, and things like that. And she understands that, like, I don't care that I only get 12 live viewers for my show. It's an important show. I said, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it. And all that.
Hey, when I first started out, I was doing it live, and there were many nights where I was just talking to nobody,
Right. Yeah. And yeah, she was always great and cool with that. And when I slowed down a little bit, she was even just like, you don't have a show this weekend? And I was just like, no, I'm just going to slow down and take a break a little bit. And it was also getting a little expensive because I was paying for StreamYard all by myself and stuff. And it was getting a little bit difficult. So I'm leaning towards more into, like, just supporting channels like Skeptic Haven with any skills that I have that they can exploit, or any other channels that can have me on. I'll come on over and we'll see what's up and hang out. And I definitely am going to get back to my own channel for sure, though, eventually. But first I need to sell this space and move into a new space, and then create a new space. And then I'll go back onto the
Yeah.
YouTube and do my own program. But I don't care if I ever make money with it, honestly.
I'm the same way. I could care less, really. I would love to. Don't get me wrong. Like, if someone were to come to me right now and say, we'll pay you just the same salary that you're making now,
Mhm.
and I will give you the best weekly podcast you could ever imagine, buddy. I'll put my heart and soul into it, but I know that's not going to happen. So I just do it because I love it.
Yeah.
And tons of mice on the chat has asked a couple of questions, and he was asking when my wife put her foot down, he said, was it her Bigfoot? Yes, it was. It was her Bigfoot. You should see her feet. They're scary.
Oh, God. This is going to get into a totally different sort of channel now.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. So usually here we take calls on and do a lot of discussion about religion and apologetics and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell us and our audience where you stand on things like religion and faith and God, or share what you're willing to share, anyways.
Yeah. I certainly don't mind that. So I was the first religious experience I ever had as far as going to church that I can remember was it was, I believe, Church of God. And my mother, I come from a small town in Southeast Alabama. My mother was raised in the country in Southeast Alabama, and the church that they went to when she was growing up was either Church of Christ or Church of God. I want to say it was Church of God. And that was what she knew. That was the religion that she knew. And so when I was a child and she started taking me to church, we went to not the same church that she went to, but we went to a Church of God. And every Sunday, towards the end of the sermon, people started doing the whole thing where they started talking in tongues and yelling and screaming and throwing themselves down on the floor and writhing around and doing all this weird stuff. And I was just a little kid, and it scared the hell out of me because I had no idea what was going on.
That's probably a pretty normal reaction, or should be a normal reaction, to be honest.
Yeah. So it got to where I would, I guess, raise enough of a stink, just cry and, put up resistance to not go to church, that we stopped going to that church. And then we started going to different churches. So I've been to just about every church. I've been Catholic, Pentecostal, Baptist, Methodist, Church of God, Church of Christ.
All Christian, though, I noticed.
Yeah. Well, it's the Bible Belt where I'm at,
Right.
So that's Baptist is the main one.
Never went to any temples or mosques, just all churches.
Mm-mm. Yes. So yeah, just any kind of Christian religion, I have tried out at one time or another, and mostly I was attracted to the Methodist faith, and we went to the Methodist church for a long while. We never became members, and then we just kind of stopped going for they changed pastors. The pastor that was there got another assignment, and he left, and they brought a new guy in, and we just didn't like him. And we just, not that he was, a bad pastor or anything. We just didn't,
he was different, and it wasn't.
So we stopped going. And as I grew up and matured and everything, my belief system has changed. I think I said this earlier in the show, that is, to me, it's more plausible to think that there could have been, an alien presence that came and helped to guide our evolution along, rather than, some mythical old white dude in the clouds wearing a towel who magically grants wishes, the know all, ever all being of everything that can make everything happen at the snap of a finger. it seems more plausible that an alien could have come and helped us evolutionary versus the other thing. So do I believe that there is an almighty God? I don't. I just don't. I think that there is something out there that I don't know if it's a supreme being, but there's something out there that maybe helped us along to where we are today. Just scientifically, you look at it and there's just this huge gap in our evolutionary scale to where we probably shouldn't be as advanced as what we are, yet we are. So, did God do it, or did aliens do it, or did it just magically happen on its own? I don't know. But if I was to put money down on it, I would say that God didn't do it, because I don't think that there is that traditional Christian version of God.
So
now,
if you were to discuss where did the universe come from, then are you more on the scientific side of things, where it's just we can only see as far back as the Big Bang, and anything beyond that we don't know? It could be eternal. We don't even.
Yeah.
Just don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Scientifically, I mean, there's so much that I don't even, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to try to explain anything or say that I know stuff, but I'm sure there's stuff that I don't know. But you look at what we can find out, and to me, that's more plausible than, once again, there's an old dude sitting up in the sky saying, okay, now there's going to be the
if
firmament,
if you're going to accept that aliens are possible, you can't really accept the Christian God, right? Because if you do, then according to Christianity, those aliens are Christians too, right? And they were all created in the image of God.
Well, not necessarily they're Christians, but I'm glad you brought that up. So let's just say that there is a God, okay? And he created everything on earth as it is, just like the Bible says, which I also have problems with, but that's another thing. So
I'm so glad you're here to say that. Carry on.
So let's just say, there's a God, he created everything just like the Bible said. Well, okay, who's to say, if he's this all-powerful being that can create this planet with us on it, who's to say that we are the end of the experiment? Maybe we were number 3. Maybe there's 2 other planets out there that he did the same thing to, and they look different. There's a different religion, different Bible. It's still him as the supreme God, but it's a different Bible, different creation story. He didn't like those people, so he's like, oh, I don't like the way that this turned out. Let me go over here, do planet number 2. No, that didn't work out really good, so let's go to this planet. He does Earth, with us on it, and that I'm getting a little bit better. Let me go somewhere else and try. So who's to say if he exists? Who's to say that he just, everybody says God is perfect, but is he though? Maybe we're just part of a big experiment.
I don't know about that, because if that's true, if God's just like he's doing beta tests of planet Earth and like elsewhere in the galaxy, then why flood the planet in the first place? Like, why do a whole like great reset, if you will? Why even bother when you can just be like, no, this failed. I'll let this burn itself down. I'm going over here to try again. It's like creating a whole new Minecraft world every time. It's like, well, why bother even just restarting?
What maybe he got so pissed off that his experiment, maybe it was a failed experiment. He got pissed off. It's like, I'm just gonna
God didn't,
and I'm gonna flood it. Yeah, so I'm saying it he created us in his image, but who's to say he also didn't go down the road, so to speak, and create a whole world of intelligent grasshoppers? They don't have to be in his image. I mean, he's God. He can do what he wants, right? So maybe he created a planet of insect-looking people. It's like, oh, that looks pretty good too. I don't know.
Well, I think if we had a call in right now from a theist, they would probably argue that it's not likely that there is any other life out there,
Mhm.
and that, well, first of all, they would argue that God is all knowing, right? So
Exactly.
the
Mhm.
idea that he would experiment at all would be just admitting that he's fallible and like doesn't necessarily get it right.
Yeah,
Um,
and
then
my
again,
question.
even their Bible would be like, but wait a minute, he flooded the earth, so he didn't get it right the first time, did he?
Exactly, exactly. And a question that I would have for them is they say, well, God is all knowing. He's like, how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, it's in the Bible. Well, okay, but the Bible wasn't written by the finger of God. The Bible
Right.
was written by man, and man is fallible. And we've already proven that there's a bunch of stuff that didn't get into the Bible that probably should have been, you know. So how do you know that God knows everything, that he's infallible? You can't just say just because it doesn't hold water just because you say it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because if
And the
because if
Bible
that
is multiple books with multiple fallible people
exactly,
whose
and
stories
if
all
that's
contradict each other.
yeah, if that's true, look, I have a piece of paper here that's got a bunch of words written down on it. Does that mean that it's all true because it's written down?
Nope, nope, it does not.
Exactly.
It's the old "for the Bible told me so." It's the classic circular argument of,
Hmm.
I've got a book that says it's the truth, so it must be the truth.
So it must be the truth. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's why they call it faith.
yeah,
You know,
yep. Um,
you just have to believe in something that you can't prove.
yeah, fascinating. So where are you now? You're like you're all spiritual now, you said, right? So you do believe in, like, you think that there's something did something somewhere at some time to help us get here, but it's not some all-knowing, like, God who's all powerful and
Yeah, life had to begin somewhere. I don't. I'm not going to say it wasn't God because I don't have proof that it wasn't, but I don't have proof that it was either. And you know, as far as I know, the only way to know if God in heaven is real is to die. And I don't know of anyone yet that has died and then come back and said, yeah, it's all true, or no, it's all bunk. I was dead and there was nothing but darkness, or whatever, so
if someone did, then it would
no one
still
would believe
be
it.
under,
Yeah,
like, major scrutiny, yeah.
exactly. No,
It'd
no
be
one
an
would believe it. And
extraordinary claim.
and you can say, well, what about all these people who had near death experiences and all this other sorts of stuff? And you know, once again, that fascinates me. I'm not going to discount it. Um, we don't know what those experiences, what causes them. Is it some sort of chemical, something that happens in the brain as you die? I don't know. Does it have to do with your belief system while you're alive? I don't know. I said the only way to do it is to die, and you just you don't. It's not like a Jesus thing where you die and then 3 days later you come back and then you can tell everybody
Yeah,
Jesus was a zombie.
that's for me is always one of the funniest, like, craziest claims in the Christian Bible, is this idea
Hmm.
that Jesus died for our sins, but then came back a couple days later to go, ta-da! Like, well, then
Right.
now you didn't die for our sins anymore. You're back. Like, what the heck?
He basically gave up a long weekend, right?
Yeah, you had a
You
bad
know,
weekend. That was it.
yeah, he gave up a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for our
I
sin.
died for your guys' sins. What'd you think? And it'd be
Yeah.
like, the sins that you gave us, the sins you put upon us, the sins that you
But
tempted us
do
with.
you think that do you believe that Jesus was a real person?
No,
You don't?
no.
I do. I think that Jesus was a real person. He was either a real person or he is an amalgamation of several different real people who they've meshed into one. Now, I'm not saying he was the son of God, and I'm not saying that he could, turn, water into wine and, walk on water and do all the other sorts of stuff. I think that he was probably one person who had a doctrine of, peace, love, and hope. And I think that he was a very special person, but I don't think that he was the Son of God who, could do all these miraculous things.
I think that that any text attached to Jesus, which at this point is pretty much just the Bible, the only thing that really mentions Jesus is the Bible, is so bastardized and polluted between translations and retranscribing and the fact that we don't have any originals, that there's no way that we could know for sure if he even really existed. And then I would also argue that the miraculous claims of the things that he did would have been so huge that there would be undeniable proof that he existed. Even if he was just a magician that, did an illusion of creating a whole bunch of fish magically out of a basket, even if that happened as an illusion where he was just some guy whose hands were quicker than the eye, the amount of reporting that would happen over the lands of just that one miracle, never mind all of the miracles, would be it would be written everywhere, and it's not. Right. And then if we were to use books like the Bible as a guide for historical accuracy and go investigate any of the claims that the Bible makes, we will find no evidence to support anything in that book. And I don't know how many things need to come up dry, blank, zero, empty before we can say, let's put this aside as nonsense and move on. But, well,
one of the things that gives Christians hope is that we are and have and continue to prove that some of the cities that were mentioned in the Bible were real places, because archaeologically we can find them. But just because those cities were real doesn't mean that the tales about them were real. It doesn't mean that everything that happened in the Bible was real, but it gives the Christians the hope to cling on to. If this was real, then the other can be real.
You can even take it a step further, and if you read some of the texts that describe an entire trip, it said that they went from here to here to here to here, what you'll find is that if you take a map and go, wait a minute, you're telling me that Jesus walked 50 miles out of his way through this town to get to this town? Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? So even though that some of the, like you said, the geographical locations exist in the Bible, there's even question as to did those cities even exist back then? Maybe they were created after the fact, for all you know. In some cases, there's a city called this in the Bible, let's just call our city that. Who knows? There's a lot of things in that book that I mean, Moses, for example, right? And the whole Exodus story, we can't find any evidence of that anywhere, right? There's no evidence whatsoever that anything that took place in the Exodus story happened, right? There's not one single frog skeleton found anywhere in Egypt. There's no chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea. There's zero evidence of it ever happening. So, I mean, we can't say that it happened, right? You can't really, I guess, honestly say that the lack of evidence means it's not true. But what we can say is we've got nothing to support it.
Yeah. And you would think, that's a very good point. The Red Sea, you would think that at the bottom of the Red Sea somewhere, there'd be skeletons and chariots and spears and
a spoke,
armor, something, just one thing. And there's not. Yeah. Not that I've ever heard.
Yeah. So, I often wonder, how many things do we have to, come up dry on and while we investigate before we just go, okay, there's enough things here that are clearly not true. And we can just move on. Now, what always surprises me is why theists don't just come in and go, yeah, well, God's got just this big giant eraser up there, and he just, he dusts the trail and eliminates any trace of it happening.
How convenient.
Yeah, my answer to that would be, then why such a crappy Bible, right? Like, why have that? If he's trying to hide all traces of everything he ever did, then why did he give man the Bible? Like, yeah, things did not go as he intended. That's how I feel. And for an all-powerful God, something's not right there. But
And another thing is, God used to talk to us, right? He would take the form of a burning bush or a cloud in the sky
a
or
donkey.
something. Yeah. Well, what happened to all that? Nowhere in the Bible does it say, and God decided to stop. So what happened with all that? And today, if I come to you, or if I'm standing on the street corner and I'm saying, God talked to me and he was my house cat, and he told me to spread the gospel of XYZ, and this is what I'm doing, I get put in a psych ward because I'm crazy. So which is it? Was all these people in the Bible who were speaking to God in the form of a bush or a cloud or a donkey or whatever, were they insane? Were they crazy? Were they bipolar? Were they schizophrenic?
Mm-hmm.
Or are all these people who were saying, God talked to me and told me to do this, is God really talking to them?
Yeah.
How can we prove that? I mean, I can't go back in time and say, Moses was talking to God and Moses was a schizo. I can't prove that.
One of my favorite stand-up comedians, Jim Jeffries, does this bit where, and I think it's pretty funny, because if God was a modern day like social media user, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he happened, and Satan also happened to be big on social media, right? Right now, the way it looks is that God's doing a lot of shit talking about Satan, and Satan's just sitting back and saying nothing at all. Right? Like, God's got the Bible that just goes on and on about Satan and temptation and sin, and at no point is Satan say anything. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, and then of course my favorite thing is this idea that the only person in the Bible who'd never lied is the Satan character, right? Like,
yeah,
right from the Garden of Eden, where God says, if you eat from this tree, you'll die. And the serpent, who is supposed to supposedly be Satan, is just like, nah, you'll be all right. And sure enough, yeah, they were fine.
Yeah. But it was the tree of knowledge, So was it knowledge in a like literal sense of learning knowledge, or was it knowledge in intercourse knowledge? You know what I'm saying? Were Adam and Eve just running around naked in the Garden of Eden, but they had no libido? That part of them wasn't activated. They didn't know, and here's this tree of temptation, this tree of knowledge, because
tempted by a tree, but not each other.
Yeah. Tempted by the fruit of another, that would make a good song. But, there's if you look at the definition of knowledge, like biblically and stuff, it's talking about knowing people. And anyway, the term knowledge or knowing is a metaphor for sexual intercourse, because you get to know somebody,
Yeah.
So I have heard, and I can't remember.
That's what the K in fuck stands for, knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge. Yeah,
it
exactly.
Does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other is for unlawful carnal. Yeah,
exactly.
So I can't remember who said this or where I read it, but was it the fact that the tree of knowledge was simply just basically like the tree of sex? You eat the apple and it activates your libido, and now you're doing because they weren't married, right? They were, so they're doing it out of wedlock, and they're not supposed to have sex or whatever. And God was like, oh, I caught you, screwing, so now you're kicked out of the Garden of Eden. was that what it was? Was that the tree of knowledge? I don't know.
Yeah. And just to put it out there again too, every time I see Adam and Eve depicted, they're always two white people again.
That's how they're depicted. Yeah.
Yeah, always two white people. Fascinating.
Yeah. And if Jesus was a real human, which I believe he was, he definitely wasn't a white dude. I mean, is all this stuff took place way, in the Middle East, nobody over there were Caucasian. Everyone was brown skinned,
Yeah.
Um,
But where was he for 16 years then?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
Anyways, I want to thank everyone in our audience for coming and checking out the show tonight. It looks like we didn't get any calls today. But that's okay. It was great to make a new friend in Sean and to have these discussions. Which, I mean, I hope you had a great visit with me, and
yeah, I enjoyed it.
All
I
right,
could keep
cool.
going.
All right. Well, we'll save some discussion for another time, but I think for now we'll just let everybody know that you need to like and subscribe here to Skeptic Haven, and you need to go check out Sean the Sandman over. Why don't you tell us again, Sean, where your website is? And
Yeah, you can find my website. It's ParaReality.com. It's ParaReality, ParaReality.com. And you can also check me out on Facebook at Sandman.ParaReality. I'm also on Instagram, X, Instagram X, and Blue Sky. And my handle is at ParaRealRadio.
awesome. Yeah. And as for me, you guys can come back here next Sunday, same time, same channel, where Neil, the 604 Atheist, and I are going to bring in May the 4th be with you. And have some more discussions, and the lines will be open for anybody who wants to call in on that day as well. And if not, then you're just going to watch two Canadian blokes nerd out hard on May the 4th.
That's going to be awesome. That's a whole religion in itself right there.
Yeah. So before I go, I think I've got to read out these the Skeptic Haven members here at the bottom. It's flashing here. It's the Skeptic Haven Mondays, the Black Free Thinkers. Saturday, the Global Atheists 30 and 60, and Women's Atheists Unload. And then, of course, Let's Talk, which is what we're on right now on Sundays. So our big supporters are, can we restart that line again? I don't know. This is my first time doing this, guys. Give me a break. We got Paul Cammish, Karen Butcher, HellsBells, Logan Fisher, Amanda McLeod, Tara S., Ryan D. Murphy, Dan D., Michael Wiseman, Sonny Shell, Phil Calderone. Members include Cynthia, McDonald, Kelley, Laughlin, Logan Fisher, and Tons of Mice. Tons of Mice is a person in the chat, not that there's just tons of mice who are members, although they might be there too. So I hope
I've been looking at the chat, and they had some great stuff going on in the chat. I wish we'd have had time to answer some of their questions in the chat, because I had some good stuff in there. So you guys are the people that are in the chat room and that are watching are awesome. You got a good crowd going. Yeah.
A lot of them are also just creators themselves. We had Maya Atkinson was out there, for example. Punk Apostate I see is right there. I can't remember whoever else I saw in there, but it's a great community. We're always there to watch each other's shows and whatnot. And Maya Atkinson right now is probably either getting ready to go or has gone live, which is usually where I spend my Sunday evenings. After, of course, Skeptic Haven. But in any case, from myself, Justin YaHouligan, and Sean the Sandman, everyone, thank you so much for coming out. Have a great night. And Wes and Mike, I hope I didn't screw this up too bad. See you later, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
They'll get it. They'll figure it out. Come on.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.